It's 2 in the morning and you're staring at a chart again, wondering what's wrong with you. You've read the books. You've watched the videos. You know more about markets than almost everyone you know, and you're still losing. Here's the thought that's circling you right now. Maybe I'm just not built for this. I want you to sit with what I'm about to say, because it might change everything about how you see your trading. There is nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're simply standing in a stage. Mark Douglas, the author of Trading in the Zone, spent his whole career studying why intelligent, hardworking people fail at trading, and he kept finding the same thing. Failure in trading is not random. It follows a path, a predictable, almost identical path that nearly every trader in history has walked, including the ones who ended up managing billions. For stages, everyone starts in the first. Almost everyone gets stuck in the second. The few who learn what the third one demands break through to the fourth. And once you can see the map, you can move. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through all 4 stages. For each one, you'll hear what it feels like from the inside, told through the real traders in Jack Schwager's market wizards who lived it. You'll hear the psychological mechanism underneath it, mostly in the language of Mark Douglas, because nobody ever explained the inside of a trader's head better than he did. And most importantly, you'll hear the exit, the specific door that leads out of each stage, because every stage has one. By the end, you'll know exactly which stage you're standing in and exactly what the next door looks like. This isn't a video about how far you have to go. It's a video about where you are on a map that thousands have walked before you, all the way to the end. Before we walk the stages, one honest question deserves an answer. If this map is real, why has nobody shown it to you? You've watched hundreds of hours of trading content. Indicators, strategies, setups, patterns. Why does almost nobody talk about the thing that actually decides whether you make it? Because the stages don't sell. Think about what the trading industry can package. A core sells certainty. An indicator sells a shortcut. A signal service sells the fantasy that someone else can do the hard part for you. Every one of those products is aimed at the Stage 2 trader's deepest wish, that the answer is out there, purchasable, one click away. Mark Douglas spent decades saying the opposite, that the answer is a psychological restructuring nobody can sell you. And that's precisely why his message stays drowned out by louder, more convenient promises. The wizards knew it too. Almost every trader in Schwager's books says some version of the same sentence. The system matters far less than the discipline to follow it. That truth doesn't fit in an ad, but fits in a map, and now you have one. Stage 1. The gambler. Nobody thinks they're in Stage 1 while they're in it. It feels like discovery. You place your first trades, and the market pays you. Maybe your first week is green. Maybe a friend showed you a setup and it worked twice. The money feels easy, and a thought takes root that will end up costing you more than any single trade. I might be a natural. Michael Marcus, who would one day turn $30,000 into $80 million, started exactly here. A friend guided his first trades. He knew nothing about risk. He was making decisions on borrowed conviction, and for a moment, it worked. Here's what Mark Douglas understood about this stage. The market is the only place on earth where you can do everything wrong and still get paid. A casino at least has the decency to take your money when you play badly. The market will hand a reckless beginner 3 winners in a row and let him conclude he has a gift. Douglas called trading the most dangerous profession precisely because early winning teaches you nothing except to bet bigger. In Stage 1, your wins are not evidence of skill. They're the bait. Let me take you inside Stage 1, because the feeling matters more than the definition. Remember your first winning week? Maybe you told someone. Maybe you did the math on a napkin. If I can make this much in a week on a small account, then with a bigger account, in a year, you weren't just trading. You were quietly renovating your entire future. New income, new freedom, maybe quitting the job. That feeling isn't stupidity. It's what a brain does when it receives unexpected reward. And the market is engineered perfectly, accidentally, to deliver unexpected reward at exactly the wrong moment. Mark Douglas made a point about this stage that almost nobody wants to hear. The worst thing that can happen to a new trader is early success. The bigger your first wins, the deeper the lesson gets buried that those wins were variance, not skill. Michael Marcus doubled money on his early guided trades and concluded the market was easy. Every dollar of that early success bought him more confidence to bet bigger money he didn't have on conviction that was never his. Meanwhile, the trader whose first month goes badly, the one who feels embarrassed and small right now, is often the lucky one. The market showed them the truth at the cheapest possible price. If that's you, if you got hurt early, I want to reframe those first losses forever. You didn't fail faster than everyone else. You just got to the real starting line first. And so stage one always ends the same way. The position that's too big, because every position is too big when you've never defined risk. The report that goes against you. The morning the market opens and takes back everything it lent you with interest. Marcus stood frozen, watching his entire net worth and money that wasn't even his evaporate in minutes. If that's happened to you, I need you to hear this clearly. That blow-up was not proof you don't belong here. It was the tuition bill for stage one, and every single trader you admire has paid it. Paul Tudor Jones paid it in the cotton pits. Marcus paid it more than once. The blow-up is not the end of the road. It's the entrance exam to stage two. The exit from stage one isn't avoiding the fall. Almost nobody avoids it. The exit is what you decide the fall means. The gambler says, "Bad luck. Next time I'll be right." The student says, "I was never actually trading. I was gambling with a chart open." Say the second sentence, and you've already walked through the first door. There's a fork in the road right after a stage one blow up, and I want to name both paths because you may be standing at that fork tonight. Path one is the exit. They quit, tell themselves the market is rigged, and carry that story for life. Path two is the one every wizard took, and here's the detail nobody advertises. They took it wounded. Bruce Kovner is the cleanest example in the whole book. Early in his career, he held a soybean position during a historic run. At one point, he was up an amount that would have changed his life, and then, in a single panic stretch after the market turned, he watched most of it evaporate and closed out in what he described as pure emotional overwhelm. The money hurt. But listen to what he did with the wound. He said that trade taught him something no winning trade ever could, that he had never actually decided in advance what he was willing to lose. From that day forward, Kovner knew his exit before he ever entered, and he built his career, billions of dollars of it, on that single scar. He also gave the most repeated advice in all of Market Wizards. Whatever size you think your position should be, cut it in half. Undertrade, undertrade, undertrade. That's not the voice of a man who never got hurt. That's the voice of a man whose wound became his edge. Your blow-up can be the same kind of asset, but only on path two, where it gets examined instead of buried. The fork is real, and the difference between the two paths isn't talent or capital. It's whether you're willing to sit with the wreckage long enough to extract the lesson. You're watching this video, so I already know which path you're on. Stage two, the fearful student. This is where most of you watching are standing right now. And it's the cruelest stage because it punishes exactly the things you were taught to believe in: effort, knowledge, hard work. You took the blow-up seriously. You got humble. You bought the books, learned the patterns, studied support and resistance. Maybe read John Murphy cover to cover. You know 10 times more than you did in stage one. And you're still not making money. Marty Schwartz lived in this stage for 10 years. A brilliant analyst, elite education, working harder than everyone around him, bleeding slowly year after year. Not because he lacked knowledge, because of what the first blow-up had installed in him: fear. Mark Douglas wrote that once a trader has been hurt, every signal from a market gets filtered through the memory of that pain. And fear expresses itself in ways that look nothing like fear. It looks like waiting for one more confirmation and missing the move. It looks like cutting your winner early because some profit felt safer than the chance of watching it vanish. It looks like moving your stop because taking the loss would make the failure real. Sound familiar? That's not a knowledge problem. No indicator fixes it. It's stage 2. Let me describe stage 2 from the inside, and you tell me if this is you. You have more than one charting platform. You've changed your strategy at least 3 times in the last year. There's a folder on your computer with courses you never finished, because halfway through each one you've found a video promising something better. You've been profitable in demo more than once and watched it dissolve the moment real money entered the picture. You know the feeling of seeing your setup, hesitating, watching it work without you, and then chasing the next one that wasn't really there out of frustration. And at night, you do the thing all stage 2 traders do. You scroll back on the chart and count what you would have made if only you'd followed your own rules. Here's what I need you to understand, and I say it with respect, because I'm describing years of my own life too. None of that is a character flaw. Mark Douglas said most traders think they have a trading problem when they actually have a self-trust problem. Every one of those behaviors, the hesitation, the system hopping, the demo to live collapse, is the same wound expressing itself. You don't yet trust yourself to handle what the market might do. And self-trust is not built by more knowledge. It's built by keeping small promises to yourself, over and over, at a size where fear can't drown out the lesson. Hold that thought, because it's exactly where the practices at the end of this video are aimed. Here's the mechanism, and Douglas nailed it in one sentence. The fearful trader is trying to eliminate uncertainty when the actual job is learning to act inside of it. In stage 2, you believe the answer is out there. One more book, one more system, one more backtest, and finally you'll feel certain enough to trade well. But certainty never comes because the market cannot offer it. Douglas taught that you can know every pattern in the book and still fail, because knowing patterns and being at peace with not knowing the next outcome are 2 completely different skills. And only the second one pays. Read that again. The thing you've been chasing for years, more accuracy, more certainty, more confirmation, is not the door out of stage 2. It's the wall you keep walking into. So where's the actual exit? It's a question. The stage 2 trader asks, how do I win more often? The door out of stage 2 opens the moment you start asking a different question. How do I lose properly? The wizards all describe this same pivot. For Schwartz, after a decade of pain, it was separating being right from making money. For Jones, after Cotton, it was becoming obsessed with defense instead of offense. The day your attention shifts from your winners to the quality of your losses, from your entries to your exits, from being correct to being protected, that day, whether you feel it or not, you have left stage 2. And here's the hopeful part. This shift can happen fast. Schwartz took 10 years, but only because nobody handed him the map you're holding right now. I want to slow down on Schwartz's turning point, because it's the most hopeful data point in this entire video. 10 years. That's how long a brilliant, disciplined, obsessively hardworking man stayed stuck in stage 2. And when the turn finally came, it wasn't triggered by new knowledge. In his Market Wizards interview, Schwartz is blunt about it. He became a winner when he was finally able to separate his ego from the trade, to stop needing every position to prove he was smart. The practical shift that followed was almost embarrassingly simple. He began trading smaller, taking losses faster, and treating the money like inventory instead of like a report card. Within months, not years, the same man with the same knowledge and the same screens became one of the most consistent traders in the country, entering national trading championships and winning them outright. Sit with that. 10 years of pain, and then months to transformation, because the problem was never in the 10th trading book. It was in what a trade meant about him. Douglas built his entire teaching on this exact observation. The market is never the real opponent. Your relationship with being wrong is, which means your 10 years, or your 3, or your 1, can compress the same way as did. The door was always this close. It just wasn't where you were looking. Stage 3, the probabilistic shift. This is Mark Douglas's home turf, and his casino analogy is, in my opinion, the single most valuable paragraph ever written about trading. Think about how a casino makes money. The casino does not know which hand will win. It doesn't try to know. It can lose 10 hands in a row to a lucky tourist, and nobody in the back office panics. Why? Because the casino has two things: a small, consistent edge, and the patience to let that edge express itself over thousands of hands. Any single hand is pure uncertainty. The sample is near certainty. Douglas's 5 fundamental truths all live inside that analogy. Anything can happen on any trade. You don't need to know what happens next in order to make money. Wins and losses arrive in a random order, even for a genuine edge. An edge is nothing more than a higher probability of one thing happening over another. And every moment in the market is unique. The stage 3 trader stops trying to be the gambler at the table and becomes the house. You stop needing this trade to work. You start needing to execute this trade exactly like the last 100 and the next 100, because your money is made by the series, not the event. Let me make Douglas's 5 truths concrete, because in the abstract they sound like posters, and lived, they're surgery. Truth 1, anything can happen. Not as a warning, as a release. The perfect setup that failed didn't betray you. It did the only thing setups ever do. It played its probabilities. Truth 2, you don't need to know what happens next to make money. A weather forecaster doesn't know if it will rain tomorrow. He knows 70% of days like today were followed by rain, and he plans accordingly. And over a year of forecasts, he's reliably valuable while being frequently wrong. That's you now. Wrong often, valuable over the sample. Truth 3, wins and losses distribute randomly, even with a real edge. Flip a coin weighted 60-40, and you will still see runs of 5 tails. If 5 losses in a row make you abandon your system, you'll abandon every system you ever touch, including the ones that would have made you rich. Truth 4, an edge is just a higher probability, nothing more. It doesn't owe you this trade. It owes you the long run, and only if you stay consistent enough to collect it. Truth 5, every moment in the market is unique, which means the trade in front of you carries no memory of your last loss, no debt to your revenge, no obligation to your rent. It's just the next card in an endless shoe. Read those 5 again tonight. Douglas said when a trader genuinely believes all 5, not recites, believes, fear has nothing left to attach to. And a trader without fear, running a real edge, is the most dangerous animal in the market. And when you look at the market wizards through this lens, you realize something beautiful. Every single one of them lives in stage 3 thinking. Larry Hite risked 1% of capital per trade and said openly that he doesn't see markets. He sees risks and rewards. That's a man running a casino, not betting in one. Bruce Kovner decided where he would exit before he ever entered, Because before entry is the last moment you can think like the house instead of like a gambler with a position. Michael Marcus rebuilt his entire career on small, defined slivers of risk, so that no single hand could ever again decide his fate. None of this is exciting. That's the point. The shift into stage 3 is the moment you stop looking for excitement and start building a machine. And here's what surprises everyone. The moment you truly accept that any single trade means nothing, losses stop hurting the way they did. Ed Seikoda's losses were small, planned, and boring. Not because he suppresses feelings, but because a budgeted business expense doesn't create pain. That emotional quiet you've been looking for, it was never going to come from winning more. It comes from here. And if you want to see what full residence in stage 3 looks like, study Ed Seikoda, the trader other market wizards named when Schwager asked them who the best was. Seikoda ran systematic trend-following programs and compounded client money at rates that still sound made up decades later. But listen to how he described the craft. The elements of good trading, he said, are cutting losses, and cutting losses. Asked how he handles a losing streak, his answer was to reduce size, and if it continues, to stop. Notice what's completely absent from those answers. Prediction, certainty, being right. The best trader in the book barely talks about entries at all. His entire language is risk, size, and survival, the casino's language. And here's the detail I love most, the one that carries the hope. Marcus described watching Seikoda take losses constantly, small ones, dozens of them, without a flicker of distress, while waiting for the handful of trends that would pay for everything and then some. Constant small losing was not a malfunction of the system. It was the system. When you truly get that, and Douglas said this is the exact moment a trader's emotional life changes. A losing trade stops being an event at all. It becomes a heartbeat, just part of the rhythm of a machine that wins over time. You stop flinching, and when the flinching stops, execution becomes effortless. That's the bridge from stage 3 into stage 4. Stage 4, the zone. This is what Mark Douglas named his most famous book after, and he was precise about what it means. The zone is not a mystical state, and it's not permanent euphoria. It's what's left when the fear leaves. You see your setup, and you act. No hesitation, no bargaining, no replaying the last loss. A losing trade closes, and your next thought is simply, next. Your sense of who you are is no longer on the table when a position is open, because your identity has moved from this trade to my process. Richard Dennis made the majority of his fortune from a small fraction of his trades, which means he sat through enormous stretches of small losses and boredom, executing anyway. That is the zone, not adrenaline. Serenity with an edge. Now, I want to be honest with you about stage 4, because false promises are what stage 1 gamblers sell. You will still feel fear sometimes. After a losing streak, after a big win, the old voices come back for everyone, even the legends. The difference is that a stage 4 trader recognizes the voice in seconds instead of months, and returns to process instead of spiraling. Mastery isn't never leaving the zone. It's knowing the way back. Now, before you decide stage 4 is for special people, let me tell you about the greatest experiment in trading history, because it settles the question of whether this path is learnable or inherited. In the early 1980s, Richard Dennis, who had turned a few hundred borrowed dollars into hundreds of millions, made a bet with his partner William Eckhart. Eckhart believed great traders were born, that Dennis had something innate that couldn't be transferred. Dennis believed trading was a set of learnable rules and, more importantly, a learnable relationship with risk. So they ran the experiment. They put an ad in the paper. They hired ordinary people, a security guard, an accountant, an actor, a kid just out of school. They trained them for 2 weeks, gave them rules, position sizing, exits, the whole probabilistic framework, then handed them real money. Those recruits became known as the Turtles, and as a group, they went on to generate hundreds of millions of dollars in trading profits. Ordinary people, 2 weeks of the right teaching. The point was never that the rules were magic. Plenty of turtles later said the rules were the easy part. The point is what the experiment proved. The thing that separates a stage 4 trader from a stuck trader is not talent. It is a framework plus the psychological ability to follow it, and both of those are learnable. Dennis won the bet, and every trader watching this video is standing in the same doorway those recruits stood in before anyone knew their names. Before I give you the practices, let's find your location. Honestly. 8 quick questions. Count your yes in 2 groups. Group 1. Does trading still feel exciting, like something you do even if the money didn't matter? Do you size positions by feel rather than by a written rule? When you win, do you immediately think about how much more you could have made with a bigger position? Have you never actually written down what you're willing to lose on a single trade? Group 2. Do you hesitate on setups you've studied 100 times? Have you exited a winner early this month just to lock the feeling of being right? Have you moved to stop, even once, hoping the market would turn? Do you believe the main thing between you and profitability is one more piece of knowledge? Mostly yes in Group 1. You're in Stage 1, and hearing it now, before the market makes the point for you, is the cheapest gift you'll ever receive. Mostly yes in Group 2. Stage 2, the fearful student standing exactly where Marty Schwartz stood and exactly one question away from the door. Few yes anywhere, and losses already feel like line items instead of wounds. You're crossing into Stage 3, and the practices coming next are how you finish the crossing. Wherever you landed, notice what just happened. You assess yourself without flinching. That skill, honest observation without self-punishment, is the actual foundation Douglas said the zone gets built on. So how do you move through the stages faster than the decade Schwartz needed? 5 practices. 1. Diagnose yourself honestly today. Write down which stage you're in and one piece of evidence. If you've never blown up and trading still feels exciting, you're in Stage 1, and reducing your size now is worth more than any course on earth. If you keep studying and keep bleeding, you're in Stage 2. Name it without shame. Every master you admire stood there. 2. Do the work of your stage, not someone else's. A Stage 2 trader doesn't need an 11th strategy. You need to trade one simple setup at a size, so small the outcome genuinely doesn't matter because right now you're not training analysis. You're training execution under uncertainty. 3. Run Mark Douglas's 20 trade exercise. This was his prescription, and it rewires people. Pick one setup with defined entry, stop, and target. Take the next 20 occurrences with 0 deviation, and judge nothing until all 20 are complete. You're forbidden from evaluating any single trade, only the sample. This one exercise is the fastest known road into Stage 3 because it forces you to experience your edge the way a casino experiences its tables. Let me show you exactly what the 20 trade exercise looks like on paper, so there's no ambiguity to hide in. Take one page, 5 columns. Trade number. Did I enter exactly at my signal? Yes or no. Did I place my stop where the plan said? Yes or no. Did I exit at stop or target with no interference? Yes or no. And last, what did I feel? One word only. Calm, fear, urge, revenge, boredom. That's the whole sheet. Notice what's missing. There is no profit column. That's not an oversight. That's the entire point. For these 20 trades, money is not information. Only execution is. Douglas designed it this way because the exercise isn't testing your setup. It's building the experience of acting flawlessly inside uncertainty, 20 times in a row, at a size small enough that your fear stays quiet enough to let you practice. Most traders who actually complete this, and I mean actually 20 real trades, 0 deviations, describe the same strange discovery somewhere around trade 12. Executing became boring. The chart stopped feeling like a battlefield. That boredom you'll feel? Recognize it when it comes. It isn't a problem. It's the sound of stage 3 arriving. 4. Grade yourself on process, not profit. At the end of each day, one question: did I follow my rules? A red day with perfect execution is a good day in stage 3. A green day full of broken rules is a loss wearing a costume. And Douglas warned it's the most expensive kind because it pays you to stay broken. 5. Keep a stage journal. 1 line per day. Which old voice showed up today? Fear, revenge, certainty chasing, and what did I do? You're not judging yourself. You're tracking your location on the map and watching yourself move. Because you will move. That's the thing about stages. They're not personality types. They're locations. And nobody is native to any of them. One more thing about the journey. Because false timelines break more traders than false strategies. How long does this take? Honestly, longer than the guru's promise and shorter than your fear insists. The wizard's numbers are all over the map. Schwartz took 10 years, but without a map. Marcus blew up for years before Seikoda showed him another way of being. The turtles compressed decades into months because someone handed them the framework and stood behind them while they learned to follow it. Here's the realistic shape of it for you. Stage 1 ends the day you truly accept you were gambling, which can be today. Stage 2 is where time goes to die if you fight it with more knowledge, and where months can be enough if you do the actual work. Tiny size, 1 setup, execution reps, the 20 trade exercise. Stage 3 arrives not as a feeling, but as an absence. One day you notice a loss didn't follow you into the evening. And stage 4 comes and goes at first, longer visits each time like any skill state. Expect plateaus. Expect regressions after your best months. That's not failure. That's the old identity making its last arguments. Douglas said consistency isn't something you get, it's something you become, and becoming has a pace that force can't rush, but honesty can accelerate. You're not behind. There is no behind. There's only your current stage and the next rep. Let's stand back and look at the whole map. Stage 1, the gambler. The market pays you to learn the wrong lessons, and the exit is admitting you were never really trading. Stage 2, the fearful student. Knowledge grows while fear quietly runs the account, and the exit is switching your obsession from winning more to losing properly. Stage 3, the probabilistic shift. You become the casino, small edge, small risk, large sample, and losses turn into boring business expenses. Stage 4, the zone. Fear is gone. Process is identity, and the way back is always known. Douglas gave us the psychology. Schwager's wizards proved it with real fortunes, built by real people who all started as gamblers and got hurt exactly like you did. This path has been walked before thousands of times all the way to the end. Your pain right now isn't a verdict. It's a location, and locations change. And if you take one single thing from these 30 minutes, let be this. Every emotion you felt in front of a chart, the euphoria that made you oversize, the fear that froze your hands, the shame that kept you from opening the platform for a week, has been felt in the same order for the same reasons by the people who went on to become the greatest traders in recorded history. You have never had a feeling at a chart that Marcus, Schwartz, Jones, or the Turtles didn't have first. What separated them was never the absence of those feelings. It was that somewhere along the way, Each of them stopped treating the feelings as verdicts and started treating them as weather, real, sometimes rough, always passing, never in charge of the destination. Mark Douglas dedicated his life to proving that the zone isn't a gift handed to a lucky few. It's an address, and addresses can be reached by anyone willing to walk stage by stage, door by door, rep by rep. You've already survived the part of this journey that breaks most people. You're still here, still learning, still willing to look at yourself honestly enough to watch a video like this one to the end. That willingness is the raw material every wizard was built from. So here's what I want you to do right now. In the comments, just write the number of your stage. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Nothing else needed. Naming your location out loud is the first act of stage 3 thinking, honest assessment without shame, and your number might show another trader that they're not standing there alone. If this video helped you see yourself more clearly, share it with one trader friend. Not for me, because it might reach them right before their next blow up, at the exact moment the map could save them. And if you want to walk the rest of this road together, subscribe. This journey takes more than one episode, and we're just getting started. Next time, the most disturbing sentence Ed Seykota ever said. Everybody gets what they want out of the market, even the losers. What if some part of you is losing on purpose? That question will change how you see every trade you've ever taken. Until then, remember, you're not broken. You're somewhere on the map. And now you know where the doors are. I'll see you in the next one.